And suddenly, we're all going to war at 17-year-old, and we're all, well, half a dozen of us here at the moment.
For you, what does Armed Forces Day mean for you? You've got your bench here, you know, you're celebrating here today. Is it about a celebration of the forces? What does it mean for you today?
For me, it's literally celebrating the brotherhood of the Antrim, plus recognising what the armed forces do. It's under-recognised, and the country doesn't really have an armed forces anymore. And this, they need to start thinking, we need the armed forces. Back in '82, we had best part of 100 warships. You don't have that anymore. So we had the camaraderie. We knew what we were doing. It's all computerised anymore now and stuff like that, but nobody knows what we did in '82, and that was a big thing for the Antrim. We were the first ship since World War II to sink a submarine for a start. We were the first ship down there, the last ship back, and we went back down there 2 months after we had a repair damage done. You know, and it is the camaraderie of the lads and the teamwork.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello, good morning to you. It's 9:30 on Friday, August the 1st, live across the UK. This is Britain's Newsroom with Ben Leo and Nana Akwir.
Yes, good morning to you. Censoring dissent. Find out about the secretive Whitehall spy unit used by the government to monitor your social media posts and will target anyone criticising asylum seekers. Home Office Minister Dame Diana Johnson spoke to BBC News Breakfast earlier.
It's certainly not about monitoring or looking at free speech and people's ability to say what they believe should or shouldn't happen in terms of immigration policy.
Elsewhere, Epping Hotel protests continue. Demonstrators gathered again outside the Bell Hotel with placards reading, "Protect our kids." They say they won't stop until the Bell Hotel is closed.
12 months of turmoil, 1 year on since the summer of unrest, and fresh protests breaking out across the country as asylum hotels has Britain learned anything?
Well, 12 months on, the government says it is alive to the tensions in those communities, but clearly with more migrant protests, the situation is tense.
Foreign convicts surge. 1 in 8 of all prisoners in the UK are born overseas, as sex offenders in that group soar nearly 10%, rising 3 times faster than British inmates. Why not just deport them all?
I think people should be calling out wrongdoing, actually. I mean, it's up to them to decide whether they feel it's safe, and that's for each person to make a judgment. But I think it's reasonable for the public to call out and expose criminality where it occurs.
That's Chris Philp speaking on Chopper's podcast. But would you call out crime? Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp is encouraging people to do just that, as he says Brits should not be afraid to challenge wrongdoing and criminality.
Heathrow shuts down. Sir Keir Starmer's set to go to battle with Sir Sadiq Khan and Labour backbenchers to force through a 3rd runway at Heathrow.
Hey up, it's Yorkshire Day. How you doing out to celebrate it? We'll be joining in with some of the festivities shortly.
Good morning to you. Thank you for your company this morning. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Are you?
Good, yeah, not bad. Big show coming up, including, of course, a year on since the summer riots last year. We've got reporters and Martin Daubney all across the country. Martin's in Sunderland, I believe. Has anything changed since last summer? Do you feel more confident that the government's got a grip of things?
Of course they haven't. They've let loose. It's just frightening. And, of course, that was Home Office Minister Dame Diana Johnson. Excuse me, speaking to us here on GB News, not the BBC. Did I say BBC?
You might say BBC.
Nah,
Doesn't matter.
I could never say that.
The BBC may have been in your mind because, as far as I understand, for the majority of last month, we may have... No, I haven't revealed the secret just yet.
No, but you're giving it away.
But for the majority of last month, we may have beaten them in the ratings, which is good. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, big show coming up. Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/your say. First, though, let's get your 60-second news update with Lewis McKenzie.
Good morning. The headlines from the GB Newsroom. It's been revealed foreign-born prisoners account for 1 in 8 of the total UK jail population. Conservative MP Katie Lamb says any foreigner who commits a crime in the UK should be removed from the country.
they all need to be deported. So the Conservatives actually in Parliament tried to amend the law, the Borders Bill that the government passed earlier this year, to say that everybody who commits a crime will need to leave the country. And I and my Shadow Home Office colleagues tabled those amendments and voted for them. The government voted them down, but there is absolutely no reason to have foreign criminals in the UK.
Reports suggest a Whitehall spy unit is being used by the government to target social media posts criticising migrant hotels and two-tier policing. The US announces fresh tariffs on more than 90 countries as Donald Trump's deadline to strike trade deals passes. Tariffs on the UK remain at 10%. And authorities at Heathrow Airport say a third runway can be built for £21 billion within a decade. This would enable an additional 276,000 flights per year. Well, those are your GB News headlines for now. More from me in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good morning, 9:35. Ben and Nana with you on Britain's Newsroom on GB News. Hope you're well. Thank you for your company.
Yes, now 12 months ago, Britain was on the brink in the wake of the horrific Southport attack. Emotions ran high and unrest poured onto our streets.
But 1 year on, with protests against migrant hotels breaking out, has Britain learnt anything? Has the government learnt anything? Or are our communities more divided than ever?
We're joining us now, Home and Security Editor Mark White in the studio. So, Mark, what can you tell us? Of course, if we take our minds back to Southport and what happened then and where we are now.
Well, of course, what happened with Southport was the horrific stabbings that took place that really brought about very significant anger and tensions. And then in the days that followed that, we saw the spark of that anger turn to disorder, not just in Southport, but in communities across particularly the north of England. And where we are 12 months on, well, the government does acknowledge the issue around tensions that illegal migration in particular is bringing to communities across the country. It seems to be more willing to discuss this, but the tensions are still there. The migrant hotels are still there, and incidents alleged linked to migrants are also still there, which are further stoking tensions. And we've seen just in the last month or so a number of protests again, which I think is deeply alarming for the government. The fact that there are a number of protests now at multiple sort of migration hotels around the country. We had seen after Southport, and actually it was a couple of years back ago, there was lots of protests outside migrant hotels. It was a thing. And then it kind of died away. Southport was a different entity. It was sparked by the real and visceral anger that had happened after the stabbings, but also on top of that, the tensions that uncontrolled mass migration was causing communities right across the country. But the issue of migrant hotels seems to be back as a key topic again, and is bringing people back out onto the streets to protest outside a number of different hotels. And the concern, as always, is that for the very most part, these are local protests with local people who are coming out to express their concerns, but they have the potential to bring disorder. And we've seen some small amounts of disorder in recent weeks.
Yeah, I mean, even in let's use Epping, for example, the Bell Hotel. I was down there last weekend. It started out with locals, concerned mums and dads, with a reaction to what happens there, or allegedly happened. But then you get people from out of area coming down and getting involved. Then you get the stand up to racism lot being bussed in. So that's as far as I can tell from being there, that's how some risk of disorder does spark. Two questions then, Mark. What can be done to temper tensions, to sort of calm people down, and what will the government do you think?
Well, I'm not sure that I can offer any kind of comfort in terms of where we're headed with community tensions, because what you've got is the issue of migrant hotels, which is clearly a very live issue for many people across the country. OK, we had over 400 hotels that were requisitioned by the Home Office for use as migrant accommodation. That has been cut almost in half, but just in recent months it's been edging up again as the numbers crossing the channel have been increasing exponentially. But it's still lower than it was. But it's still more than 200 migrant hotels across the country. So there's still tension there. But what you've got now is a policy from the government of moving these mainly young men away from migrant hotels and moving them into communities up and down the country. And the difficulty with that is, in a migrant hotel, as difficult as that was and unpalatable as that was for people to have a community asset taken out of use, and filled with young migrant men for sometimes years at a time, actually the alternative, I would suggest, is probably worse, which is putting, houses of multiple occupation, or where they might be a dozen young men in the street near you, and bringing all the tensions that brings. So it may be that actually migrant hotels is the least worst option.
Well, there is another one. I think tents, and we're in a place where they are not allowed to come out, so there's no way that anyone...
Oh, completely agree. I mean, that would require a government with a bit of courage to be able to stand up to without a doubt, all of the sort of fallout from the activists, lawyers, the NGOs, the charities who would rally round and say this was inhumane. But yes, you're right. I mean, we see it right around the globe. If you go to the Middle East and go to the Middle East and look at the millions that are in tented cities in Jordan, in areas next to Syria and Iraq, where all of the refugees have gone into these camps. You don't see the NGOs that work with the people in those camps saying that this is completely inhumane of Jordan to put them up in tented cities here.
Can I ask you, OK, so with the Southport killer, there was another young person that tried to do the same thing, and they arrested this person, but they couldn't charge them with terror offences because of the definition of what a terrorist offence is. So what do you know of what the government are doing to ensure that if someone, somebody this person was intercepted beforehand, we know Rudy Cabana was referred to Prevent 3 times, and the reasons why he wasn't charged, or they didn't do anything with him, was because it didn't fall underneath the definition of terror, so they let it be. Is there any development on that side of things?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, because, I mean, Prevent, the counter-extremism programme, was found to be severely lacking in terms of its response, not just to the Southport murders and Axel Rudy Cabana, but also, of course, to the murder of David Amos, what happened up in Nottingham, less so. That was more of the mental health side of things, but lots of state agencies that just didn't respond in the way they should have, played this game of pass the parcel with Axel Rudy Cabana, because feeling that, he didn't fit into the definition of what a young extremist, a young terrorist was. So the rules are being rewritten, and what Prevent should be looking at going forward. We know with Prevent that there has been real concerns about their focus in recent years, a focus that seems to have been on far-right extremism rather than the real threat that this country has faced for a number of years and still continues to face, which is Islamist extremism that makes 75% of the caseload for MI5 and the police, rather than less than 25% for far-right extremism. And in this country as well, we've not seen mass murder as a result of far-right extremism. So there was some real concern about Prevent's focus. Now they're also being urged not to just move away from being so focused on the likes of far-right extremism, but to look at these individuals who have no defined ideology, who are just fascinated by death and violence and are fed often online by that, and what you do with them. But you're right in terms of actually charging them. They don't fall into the terrorism definition, so they don't get potentially a terrorism charge, which carries with it a stiffer jail term. But if they are plotting to kill and murder people, then they would face,
this is what, because there was another teenager who sort of idolised the Southport killer.
Yes.
And he recently appeared in court after police were alerted that he was planning a similar knife attack on a dance school near his home, and he was charged with quite a minor offence.
Yeah.
And see, this is the problem. Rudy Cabana got through because he didn't fit in with the definition.
The reason he was charged with a minor offence is because there wasn't enough evidential proof that he was planning to commit murder. If he was planning to commit murder and they had definitive proof of that, he would have been put before the courts and charged with, a plot to carry out murders, conspiracy to murder, or whatever. So that really is all dependent on the evidence that they can get before a court, that they can prove. You can talk about, this is what he was planning, but unless you have enough evidence that will stand the process of a trial and that there's a realistic possibility that a jury will find this individual guilty, then it's never going to end up in court.
No, it was bad because it means basically under UK terrorism law, the use of or threat of violence must be for the purpose of advancing political, religious or racial or ideological causes. And if it's not, then it's not terrorism.
Yeah.
And that's a worry.
Mark, thank you very much. As Mark said, it would take a government of courage to try and sort the problem out. Does this government have courage? Do you have faith in the government that they will be courageous enough to take even more action to try and sort the problem out? Let us know what you think. GBNews.com.
Well, that depends on whether you saw Keir Starmer and that meeting with Donald Trump and the press conference.
Well, do you know what? Talking of America,
now
you've mentioned it, I think, talking about the US, I mean, America has pretty much cut illegal migration to zero. I think there were 9 crossings yesterday compared to 11,000 a day before that. So I think we should, despite people this side of the pond not liking Donald Trump for whatever he said or done in the past, maybe we should try and listen to him and take some words of advice or wisdom from him about how to stop it.
All right, up next, the shocking number of dangerous overseas criminals being kept in our prisons has been revealed. Don't miss it.
If you're in search of some holiday sun, in the meantime, here's the forecast for some top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you or anyone you know is heading further afield this weekend, it's going to be very wet in northern Italy and Slovenia. Fine elsewhere, just 1 or 2 showers for the Canaries, a brisk breeze for Madeira. That breeze actually bringing some warmth to Portugal, into parts of Spain as well. But it's for northern Italy into Slovenia, parts of Croatia. We're going to see some very wet weather over the next few days, that transferring southeast into parts of Greece early next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Dan was one of the victims of the attack, and he was just, within touching distance from the leading suicide bomber. And when that bomb went off, it killed 6 people.
It's still really surreal. It's still a kind of strange thought to realise that I was right in the middle of what happened that day. And even though it's 20 years, it still feels like yesterday.
Yeah.
The pain and the emotional torment that goes with that is just as fresh now as when it just happened.
Mm. And when you think back to that morning, because you've written a book about that day and your experience since, you actually were considering not going into work that day.
Yeah, my whole story of 7/7 is what I kind of term as sliding door moments. There's so many opportunities that were presented to me to do something different, or to stick to my normal routine and not step outside of that. And yeah, there's countless times where if I would have made a different decision, then I wouldn't have been on that train at that time. If I'd have got up on time, if I hadn't missed my stop, there's so many things that I can think back on and think, if only I've done this, if only I've done that. But it serves no purpose now because what's happened has happened.
Well, you were horrendously injured, but people died on that bus that day.
Yeah, I mean, from the area of the train that I was on when the bomb went off, I'm the only one that survived. He killed everybody around me. And that's incredibly tough to live with, to know that you survived something that everybody around you didn't. And I was pretty much laying in and amongst dead bodies and body parts for about an hour and 40 minutes before I was taken out the tunnel.
And what do you remember about the murderer?
I think the most terrifying thing about it is just how calm he was. There was no fear, there was no hesitation, and the most scariest thing of all was he just looked like everybody else.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. Good morning, 49 minutes after 9 o'clock. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Good morning. The number of foreign-born prisoners in England and Wales is now higher than at any point since 2013, accounting for 1 in 8 of the total prison population.
And record numbers of foreign sex offenders and violent criminals are being held in our prisons too.
Very good. Well, let's talk to the statistician, Jamie Jenkins, formerly of the ONS. Jamie, good morning. We hear so much about the fact our prisons are full. I see weekly just rotten people being able to walk free from court, paedophiles, child abusers. And yet the question begs, why don't we just send these people home to free up space for our own criminals?
No, I think that's a really good point. And there'll be some criminals who are from abroad in our kind of jails where we also send foreign aid to some of those countries as well. So there are some recourses that we could do to try and get these foreign criminals back to kind of the home where they are. But I think what the numbers are showing, guys, is pretty much what has been the problem we've seen with the UK over the last kind of 10 or 12 years with migration. So if you just take the last 3 years alone, in England and Wales, we had the latest figures out the last couple of days. We've had an increase in the population of 2.1 million. That's just in 3 years. And since 2010, when the Cameron government came in, it's gone up 6.6 million. So with this massive rise in the number of foreigners coming over to the country, it's no surprise that we've seen this increase in foreigners in our jails. Now, I think ultimately what the data is kind of showing is that it's not just the asylum seekers, obviously, who are going into some of these jails. Not all asylum seekers are causing issues, but we're seeing an increase in people coming in small boats and those ended up in jail as well. And one of the big rises is Albanians. A couple of years ago, those were the majority of people coming over on small boats were Albanian, no doubt coming to the country and now ended up jail and costing us money.
And what about the crimes that are being committed by these people? What are the top crimes and the least, what's the worst ones?
Yes, so with the Albanians, what we're seeing, and we know there's a lot of Albanian drug gangs in the UK, and we did see them come across quite a lot in small boats in the last recent years, the Albanians, and they do run a lot of the drug gangs in the UK. So we've got a lot of Albanians in jail for kind of drug offences, but we're also seeing this big rise in kind of sexual offences as well. And if you look at the foreign nationals in jail for kind of would be classed kind of sex offenders, that's risen kind of almost 3 times faster when you look at the rate than British nationals. So those are the kind of concerns that we've got. We talk about, to say with the asylum, and you've just been talking about kind of the small boats and things about a safe haven for foreign people. But what about the safe haven for British people when some of these people are coming over here doing these heinous crimes against British people? And that's something that the government needs to address.
Yeah. Jamie, just finally and briefly, can you just explain for people who are watching about per capita? Because I reeled off some stats at the weekend on my show about Afghans and Eritreans, according to MOJ data, are 20 times more likely to be convicted of sexual offences in the UK than Brits. And the person on my panel, a left-leaning guest, said, yeah, but there are far more offences committed by Brits. I was saying, yes, but it's per capita, which I didn't seem to quite understand. Can you just summarise what that means per capita?
Yeah, so obviously if you've got kind of 100 British people in a room and 1 Afghan, you've got 100 times more likely for a British person than an Afghan to be able to do things. But what you do when you adjust things per capita, you adjust for the population size. So if you're seeing, say, the chances of an Afghan committing a crime is more than a British person, because that's when you adjust for the population as well. And that's whenever you're comparing any group by ethnic group, nationality, you always need to look at it kind of on a per capita basis to kind of overarch the kind of issues when you've got one group which is bigger than the other.
Got it.
All right, Jamie Jenkins, thank you very much. He's a statistician. I know I shouldn't try that word. A Ministry of Justice spokesperson said this government is deporting foreign national offenders at pace, with more than 5,000 deported last year, as part of our mission to make our streets safe and the plan for change. We are going further by changing the law so foreign prisoners can be deported earlier than ever before.
All right, still to come, find out about the secretive Whitehall spy unit the government is using to target social media posts, you at home maybe, criticising migrant hotels and so-called two-tier. Can you believe it? I can. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's a fine start out there for many of us. Bright spells will continue through the rest of the day, but further showers are expected, particularly across central and eastern parts of the UK, and it will feel a little fresher with our winds coming from the north-northwest. The heaviest showers as we go through the morning are expected across parts of northern England, into the Midlands, as well as East Anglia and the southeast. Some more persistent rain perhaps into the far east of Norfolk and Suffolk as the day goes on. Brightest weather towards the west and the southwest. Temperatures reaching 23 Celsius, so a little cooler compared with the last few days. But a fine day for many away from those showers, and even where we've got the showers, plenty of bright spells. And it will brighten up further as the evening approaches, most of the showers disappearing. A dry end to the day for Western Scotland into Northern Ireland. Cloud well broken, particularly around coastal areas, and I think for parts of northwest England, North Wales, some decent sunny spells are expected into the evening. The south and southwest likewise a fine end to the day, 1 or 2 showers just continuing for a few hours across the Midlands as well as the North Sea coast. Then we go overnight with clear spells widely and a cooler night compared with recent nights. Still some patchy cloud and a bit of a brisk breeze blowing down the North Sea coast, but temperatures dipping widely to 10 or 11 Celsius, perhaps staying up in the mid-teens in some urban areas. Saturday starts off with plenty of sunshine, particularly towards the west. It's in the east where we've still got some patchy cloud, 1 or 2 showers developing as the day goes on, and a breeze down the North Sea coast. But away from those showers, actually decent sunny spells for many. Saturday's looking like a fine day before the next area of cloud, and rain approaches in the far northwest, and then a more unsettled period Sunday into Monday.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Expect disruptions today as 4 lanes are restricted westbound, causing delays. On the A40, both directions between Gibraltar Tunnels to Mitchell Troy are closed for planned maintenance, with diversions in place. In Kent, the A20 eastbound is congested between the A260 and the junction with the A256 Dover West, causing delays. Normal conditions are expected by 10:30 this morning. And on the trains, South Western Railway reports disruption between Windsor and Eton Riverside and Virginia Water to Feltham, with buses replacing trains. Great Western Railway issues continue between Didcot Parkway and Oxford. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
It's the final week to see how you can win big, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? The holiday of a lifetime? Or just sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? Lines close on the 1st of August, so make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. live. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good morning. It is fast approaching 10 o'clock on Friday, the 1st of August. We are live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Ben Leo and me, Nana Acquia, on Britain's #1 news channel.
Yes, more on that in just a second. But first, censoring dissent. Find out about the secretive Whitehall spy unit used by government to monitor your social media posts and targeting anyone criticising asylum seekers.
It's certainly not about monitoring or looking at free speech and people's ability to say what they believe should or shouldn't happen in terms of immigration policy.
A secret Whitehall unit sought out dissenting chat online about last year's riots following the Southport attacks. Is that censoring free speech?
Epping hotel protests. Demonstrators gathered again outside the Bell Hotel with placards reading "Protect our kids." They say they won't stop until the hotel is closed.
12 months of turmoil, 1 year on since the summer of unrest and fresh protests breaking out across the country at asylum hotels. Has our government learned anything?
And 1 year ago, 18 towns across Britain were swept by riots at asylum seeker centres and police stations. One of them was Sunderland. I'm here today to find out why the locals here believe successive governments have completely ignored the white working classes, filling a vacuum full of desperation that made things boil over. And could that happen again?
Foreign convicts surge. 1 in 8 of all prisoners are born overseas, as sex offenders in that group saw nearly 10%, rising 3 times faster than British inmates. Why not deport them all? Conservative MP Katie Lamb thinks that we should.
They all need to be deported. There is absolutely no reason to have foreign criminals in the UK.
I think people should be calling out wrongdoing, actually. I mean, it's up to them to decide whether they feel it's safe, and that's for each person to make a judgment. But I think it's reasonable for the public to call out and expose criminality where it occurs.
What do you think of that? Would you call out crime? Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp is encouraging people to do just that, as he says Brits shouldn't be afraid to challenge wrongdoing and criminality.
Heathrow's showdown. Sir Keir Starmer is set to go to battle with Sir Sadiq Khan, his friend, as Labour backbenchers to force through a 3rd runway at Heathrow.
And up, it's Yorkshire Day. Are you doing out to celebrate it, Nana?
Yeah.
We'll be joining with some of the festivities shortly.
Yeah. Sorry to the
Very
people
sorry
of Yorkshire.
to the beautiful people of Yorkshire,
We
your
did our
beautiful counties. I'm sorry, apologies. But anyway, in some good news, Nana, we have some big breaking news here on Britain's Newsroom. What is it?
Well, that breaking news is that GB News is the #1 news channel on average views this month across all the news channels. So that means we beat Sky News and the BBC News channel.
Yes, for July. For the entire month of July, we beat Sky News, we beat the BBC News channel day after day, and it's thanks to you, the viewers, being with us so loyally every day. Some big news stories we covered, of course. I mean, what was it recently? Trump, Bev Turner on Air Force One
and
in
Christopher
Scotland.
Hope.
Christopher
Yes.
Hope, of course, as well. So many stories, and you're sticking with us for it, and we really appreciate it. So for the first time ever in this channel's very short history, we beat Sky News and the BBC News channel on average for the entire month, and it was a great month. Thank you so much.
It was, really. Thank you so much. I can remember the days when people would say, oh, you and your other viewer. Well, there you have it. So there you have it. But first, let's get your latest news with Lewis Mackenzie.
Good morning. It's just after 10 o'clock. Here are your latest GB News headlines. It's been revealed that foreign-born prisoners account for 1 in 8 of the total UK jail population. According to official data published for the first time, the number of foreigners in prisons for serious violent, sexual and theft offences has risen over the past year. Around 1,700 foreign criminals are in prison in England and Wales for sexual offences. This figure has surged by almost 10% in the last 12 months alone, a rate of increase almost 3 times higher than that of British people imprisoned for sexual offences. Conservative MP Katie Lamb told GB News they should all be removed from the country.
They all need to be deported. So the Conservatives actually in Parliament tried to amend the law, the Borders Bill that the government passed earlier this year, to say that everybody who commits a crime will need to leave the country. And I and my Shadow Home Office colleagues tabled those amendments and voted for them. The government voted them down, but there is absolutely no reason to have foreign criminals in the UK.
Reports suggest a Whitehall spy unit has been used by the government to target social media posts criticising migrant hotels and two-tier policing. The Telegraph newspaper claims officials working for the Technology Secretary, Peter Kyle, have flagged videos with, quote, concerning narratives to social media giants, including TikTok, warning that they were exacerbating tensions on the streets. Emails recovered by a US congressional committee show that civil servants have complained to tech firms about content monitoring asylum seekers, immigration and two-tier policing. Home Office Minister Dame Diana Johnson told GB News Breakfast that free speech is a cornerstone of democracy and that the Online Safety Act protects it.
No, we're not having our free speech monitored at all. And it's absolutely right that people can express their views within the law on social media. What I would say is that the police, and particularly last autumn when we had the disorder in August actually, it was absolutely right that the police should be looking and monitoring what was being put onto social media in terms of organisation of riots and have that information to allow them then to plan what they needed to provide in terms of protecting the public.
The US announces fresh tariffs on more than 90 countries as Donald Trump's deadline to strike trade deals passes. Tariffs on Canada are increasing from 25% to 35%. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says he's disappointed, but most Canadian goods are exempt under a previous agreement. And south of the border, higher tariffs for Mexico are being paused for another 90 days, while Brazil faces 50% levies. Tariffs on the UK remain at 10%. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump has described Russia's actions in Ukraine as disgusting and says he will impose sanctions on Moscow. At least 15 people were killed and hundreds wounded after a barrage of Russian aerial attacks on Kiev yesterday. A 9-storey apartment block collapsed as missiles and drones hit numerous locations across the capital. Authorities say a 6-year-old boy and his mother were amongst the dead. Earlier this week, President Trump said Moscow would be hit with a secondary sanction and tariffs unless a ceasefire is agreed by the 8th of August.
Russia, I think it's disgusting what they're doing. I think it's disgusting. This is Biden's war. It's not my war.
But I said, if I get in, I'll try and get the thing stopped. Yeah, we're going to put sanctions. I don't know that sanctions bother him. You know, they know about sanctions. I know better than anybody about sanctions and tariffs and everything else. I don't know if that has any effect, but we're going to do it. Europe is extremely upset, but this is a war that should have never happened.
A pensioner has been arrested on suspicion of poisoning 8 children at a Christian summer camp. Detectives are questioning the 76-year-old man after receiving a report of children feeling unwell at a summer camp in Leicestershire. The children were enjoying a summer camp at Stratham Lodge, owned by the Braithwaite Gospel Church, a Christian charity that provides holiday hubs. Authorities at Heathrow Airport say a third runway can be built for £21 billion within a decade. The airport has submitted plans to the government for a new full-length runway, but insists it can open a shorter one instead. The West London hub is seeking permission to open a new 3,500-metre runway just northwest of its existing location. This would enable an additional 276,000 flights per year. And finally, a town councillor has stepped down after after just 1 month, so his wife can enter a gardening competition. Tony Hewitt, a Reform councillor from County Durham, was appointed to Ferryhill Town Council on the 1st of May. But as the council judges the floral competition, he decided to resign when it became clear she could not compete after months of hard work. Mr Hewitt said that some people had challenged him over his decision, but he replied his wife's happiness is more important. Good for him. Well, those are your latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Lewis Mackenzie. More from me in half an hour's time.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello, good morning to you. 10 past 10 on Britain's Newsroom on GB News with Ben Leo and Nana and Queer. And Nana, let's just remind ourselves of the good news that's breaking in the last few minutes.
Yes, we are Britain's #1 news channel in July, which means every single day in July, because of you, we beat the BBC News Channel and Sky News for average views across the entire day, which means that we are, right now, Britain's #1 news channel. Thank you.
Such an achievement, and it's thanks to you at home for tuning in so loyally. The people who have been here since the start.
Me.
Some years ago. Yeah, you've been here since the start.
Yeah.
The viewers who have been here since the start as well, and of course loads of new viewers. And I see it myself when I'm out and about. So many people saying, "Oh, hi Ben, I love the channel. I've only just started tuning in maybe 3 or 4 months ago." So thank you so much. It's appreciated. We love. Oh, I love anyway. I'll speak for myself. I love sharing this journey with you.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's a very special thing we've got going here, and you're part of it as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I can remember the days we were called Far Right, and I was called all sorts of names, coconut, Oreo, all sorts of nonsense, which obviously I ignored because it's absolute tosh. And instead, we tried to bring you the truth and bring you as much as the news we could from all angles, not just the one angle that we've been pushed all the time, one narrative, but lots of people getting in touch with their views. Steve says, brilliant news on the viewing, listening figures to GB News, well deserved. Also on radio, we are doing phenomenally well. Julie says, excellent, well done GB News. We won't watch any other news channel. And then Charles says, haha, Nana can't do a Yorkshire accent.
Oh, nor can I.
Yeah, but that's well.
I think yours was better than mine.
I think mine was better than yours.
Mine was terrible.
Although Charles seems to think that you had a decent effort, which...
Oh, thanks, mate.
I don't think so, Charles. You weren't hearing the same thing.
Probably my mum.
Yes, so Bianca says, viewing bliss, Ben and Nana, so good. So thank you so much for all of your thoughts, your comments, and for just getting involved and viewing and listening.
Yep, and let's not rest on our laurels, eh?
No.
Let's keep cracking on, let's keep building, let's keep holding power to account, whether it's red, blue, turquoise, yellow, whoever. Let's crack on and
green.
Keep this, and green, yeah. Green. And keep this special journey going. As I said, it's a project for you guys at home, for Britain, for the people of this country, and there's lots more to come, I'm sure.
Right. Well, stay with us because up next, a secretive Whitehall spy unit is reportedly being used by the government to target social media posts that criticise migrant hotels and two-tier policing.
Oh, yeah, reminds me of the COVID nudge units. Well, according to the Daily Telegraph, emails obtained by a US committee reveal that civil servants raised concerns with social media platforms, warning that certain posts contained, quote, concerning narratives.
Now, the reports have sparked accusations of state censorship, something the Home Office strenuously denies.
Joining us in the studio is our political editor, Christopher Hope. Christopher, good morning. Tell us about this, please. Seems rather chilling, Orwellian.
It is Orwellian and it is chilling. This goes back to a thing called the Counter-Disinformation Unit, used during the COVID pandemic to monitor anti-lockdown campaigners. It then had a name change. It's now called the National Security and Online Information Team. Of course, you change your name, don't you, if you're worried about how it's been perceived by people. It's run out of the Cabinet Office and it does monitor social media. Now, that's the government watching our social media. That is alarming for kind of Big Brother campaigners. The Telegraph, Tony Dive at the Telegraph reveals today that it's been used to target social media posts criticising migrant hotels, and this happened on August the 3rd, August the 4th last year, with that trouble breaking out in the wake of the Southport attacks and some demonstrations outside migrant hotels. And it is called concerning. FOI have revealed emails, texts here. So one civil servant warned of significant risks at migrant hotels, and there's a definite sense of urgency about them in Whitehall. In the emails, the civil servants ask TikTok what they'll do about it. So that what they're saying, TikTok, is this is breaching your terms and conditions. How are you going to combat it? But it's the government telling TikTok to police what's on their platform. That's why it's so questionable.
That's insane. So essentially, I mean, long story short, the government are running to social media companies to grass up Brits who are worried about migration.
Yes, but they wouldn't say the word grass up, Ben. It's not a word they would use in Whitehall, but they would say people who they think are using inflammatory language which could make tensions worse.
Well,
that's how they're doing.
Doesn't this also make things very concerning? Because there was also that story that if you are concerned about migration, you could be deemed a terrorist.
Yes, yes, exactly. That's also not in this one, not the terrorism thing in this though, Nana. But it came through an American politician, Jim Jordan, who's the chair of the U.S. House of Representatives Judiciary Committee. And in America, they can't believe it. They think, well, mean tweets is part of, Article 1 in their
Constitution.
The Constitution and freedom of speech. That they're saying here, in recent years, this Jim Jordan tells the Telegraph, UK citizens are being fed up with a double standard in the UK. Mean tweets get you a longer prison sentence than many violent offenders, and that's what it goes down to the heart of. What can't you say online, and should the government be policing it?
Yeah, well, when I spoke to Charlie Kirk, the big American commentator a few months ago when he came over, he'd heard about Lucy Connolly. He said the difference between the UK and the US, the threshold for incitement is just worlds away. You know, he looked at Lucy Connolly's tweet and just said, that is insane. If that was in the US, that, you know, she'd be fine. Free speech is paramount. But it's concerning, isn't it? You've got the Online Safety Act, you've got this going on as well. It's just a feeling of sort of chilling, as I said, authoritarianism nudging its way in.
Well, isn't the worry that the line differentiates depending on who is determining what the outcome is? So you might think that's terror, I might not think it is. Exactly. There's no real consistency.
And that's the problem. You've got a unit of civil servants policing what's happening online when there are other ways of doing this, argued not by the government. Separately, the Tories have now gone a different way here. So Chris Philp has told our political podcast, Chopper's political podcast, that it's reasonable for the public to call out and expose criminality when it occurs. If they see wrongdoing, step in if it's safe to do so. Here's what he told us.
Recently, this, aren't we, on social media, people taking matters into their own hands, even... we heard Nigel Farage say his family member's phone was stolen in Victoria. It ended up at an address in Buckinghamshire. He didn't go and try and get it. But do you think people should do it? It's risky, isn't it, if you become vigilantes in our own country?
Well, I think it's just part of the job for me to try and expose these things.
Should other people do the same as you? Take on wrongdoing?
So I think people should be calling out wrongdoing, actually. I mean, it's up to them to decide whether they feel it's safe, and that's for each person to make a judgment. But I think it's reasonable for the public to call out and expose criminality where it occurs.
Put your camera on, film it.
For example,
yeah, and just say, why have you walked through behind me in this gate, in this tailgating me in a transport situation?
Yeah,
or
yes, I agree. I think
violence.
I think exposing that kind of thing is important.
We have Chris Philp saying exposing that kind of thing is important. Some would say the police should expose it. Some would say London Underground ticket people should deal with it rather than requiring or encouraging people to film things. If it's safe to do so, the Tories say, why not step in?
Isn't the problem, though, that even if you do step in, the police, well, a lot of the time they don't deal with it, or even if you give them all the evidence, so CCTV footage, etc., nothing happens.
Well,
and then you've got the Crown Prosecution Service, which is on its knees.
Yes, the worry, I think, is for people stepping in is, have the authorities got my back? If I'm going to go there and try to help you do your job and give you the evidence you need, will they back me up in doing this? That's a question.
And it's also just things that aren't crimes as well, just things that I argue degrade society. Just minor points like, I don't know, feet on seats on trains. One thing that really...
That annoys you.
One thing that grinds my gears is people playing videos or music on their phone on speakers on trains.
It's very nice.
I always tell them to shut up because I don't, you know, if they want to row about it, that's fine. But I can understand that other people wouldn't want to do that. But I just think you nip those. Who was it? Rudy Giuliani in New York, the broken window theory. Deal with the small minor stuff. And the rest.
But should we be dealing with it? Because you can handle yourself, maybe, Ben, but others can't feel they have that.
I know. Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, the phone thing really does my head in.
Yeah.
It's just, I find it so rude.
But even
so disrespectful.
But the point that Chris made as well is that even if you do step in, the law doesn't necessarily go on your side, and often the victim can end up being the one who gets the worst.
That's a risk. I mean, these politicians started it. Robert Jenrick filming alleged fare dodgers on the Underground, Chris Philp going to see a homeless encampment in Hilton in Park Lane. It does seem, though, that when the politicians do this, action takes place. I've seen more signs up about fare dodging since Robert Jenrick's video. I think Chris Philp says, I think he's told me that the authorities went in and cleared this area where there was some homeless gathering.
Great stuff. And where can people find your podcast?
It's on our GB News YouTube channel. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere, and it's getting more popular, so do tune in.
Lovely. Thank you, Christopher.
All right. Well, it is the last day to see how you could become £54,321 richer in our biggest cash giveaway to date. Lines close at 4 o'clock today, so make sure that you don't miss out. Here are the details that you need.
There's only a few hours left now to see how you can win big. £54,321 in tax-free cash is up for grabs in our summer Great British giveaway. Cash to spend on anything you like. All of that cash could send you on a holiday, boost your savings, or just send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. Lines close at 4 p.m. today, so get your entry in now. For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
OK, very good luck to you. Some more good news. Hooray! The resident doctor strikes are over. For now, I guess. But now it looks like GPs and nurses, of course they are going to walk out too. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Despite what Donald Trump's saying about ceasefires and whatever, reports have been coming out overnight about continuing missile attacks.
Well, British expat David Mason was caught up in those missile attacks on Friday when he and his son barely escaped with their lives after an Iranian missile exploded next to them in a bombing raid in northern Israel.
Let's speak to David, because David joins us now from his hospital bed, actually, to tell us about this terrifying ordeal. David, how are you?
I'm alive. I'm alive. That's one thing.
Yeah.
I'm alive.
How bad was it? A close call, was it?
It was very close. The missile hit about 25 feet away from us.
God.
It blew me completely, that's basically off my feet. And it was just dark and just blood everywhere, basically. I landed. As I woke up, there was a body. I was on top of a body which I thought was my son. And as I cleared all the debris away, I looked up and realized my son was standing there with a hole basically in his neck, shot. And, I basically went into father mode, as my other children said, dad mode. Took my shirt off, wrapped it around his neck to make sure that he wasn't bleeding more. And then he turned to me and said, "But Dad, you're splurting blood from everywhere. My arms, my back, my head." And I said, "Don't worry about me."
GB News, the People's Channel.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, just like week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
10:24, Ben and Nana with you on Britain's Newsroom on GB News this morning. We're also joined by former Labour MP Bill Rammell and political commentator Emma Trimble in the studio. Good morning, you two.
Good morning to you. Right, let's start with the strike balance threatened, and GPs are also mulling winter strikes over a threat to general practice.
Yep, 9 in 10 nurses turned down a 3.6% pay rise. So they're talking about striking again. GPs have just finished striking, talking about striking again. Interestingly, there's a poll in this story that says that 1 in 4 Britons strongly oppose the nurses going on strike. I'm actually surprised that's not more. I would have thought there would have been more people opposed, because every single time we have frontline workers in the NHS striking, they always say the same thing. They say that this is not going to affect the quality of care that people are receiving. But if that was the case, even though they're already talking about how one of the reasons for them striking is that the quality of care isn't good enough in the NHS because they're overstretched, how then is it possible that they could strike, have less staff working, and the quality of care not be affected?
What does that tell you? What does that tell you? What do you think, Bill Rammell? Should they even be allowed to strike? Would you put them on the list with police and the army? That's what I would do.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Why not?
But because you know, unless it is mission critical, then I think you have a right to strike. That's part of a free society.
You don't think that nurses are mission critical? I think they're more mission critical than the doctors, to be honest.
Well, let's say I've got more sympathy for them than junior doctors, and I was surprised when the pay review body actually gave them the lowest award within the NHS. However, I think they would be wrong to strike 2 successive above inflation increases, and actually I'm not convinced that this will lead to strike action. So yes, it was 91% in favour. It was on a 56% turnout. And the last time, because you've got 2 stages. 1, they've rejected the pay award. 2, there will now be negotiations. And apart from pay, the government says it'll negotiate on other issues, working conditions, etc. They would then have to vote again. And the last time this came to a ballot, it fell below the 50% threshold. And my hunch is that's what will happen this time. But they certainly shouldn't strike. And I think there's a problem across the NHS. You know, we're beginning to see the turnaround in the NHS, waiting lists falling. There needs to be an air of reality about what's affordable.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And actually what the British Medical Association are asking for is not reasonable. It's 29% pay rise. And they already had received a 28.9% pay rise already. So I think, I'm guessing that you probably think they shouldn't be allowed to strike.
I don't think they should be.
I'm inclined to agree with you. I think at least there should be serious limitations because it's the National Health Service. This is not, this is not the private sector. People realistically don't have another option. People's lives are at risk when strike action like this takes place.
Well, it's almost, I think in some ways, it's almost manslaughter, in my view, because you're not intentionally wanting people to die, but what your action is leading to is, and we know the last strike, where there were 200,000 appointments that were rescheduled, and we know that 5 people died as a result.
Yeah, and I think we can accept that nurses in particular are not paid enough money, but the NHS is also paying hundreds of thousands of pounds for single salaries for people in diversity roles.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the problem is the way that the NHS is run. You can't just continue throwing money into this black hole and then demanding increased pay rises without changing the system. But the problem is this thing is such an enormous bureaucratic behemoth. And the fact that even the Labour Party, even Wes Streeting, who stood a much better chance politically of being able to reform the NHS than the Conservative Party, is still being blighted by these problems. I think it suggests that there is such a systemic problem with the NHS that making these demands in that context is just not reasonable.
Talking of DEI, NHS trusts in England and Wales last year spent £14 million on DEI initiatives and roles and so on. So, yeah. Should we move on very quickly? Bill, universities that do not uphold free speech in Britain could be penalised, similar to what's happening in the US, actually. The likes of Harvard, other big unis are having sort of funding withheld from them until they... I think over there, actually, it's to do with anti-Semitism. But, yeah, going after unis who don't uphold free speech.
Yeah, I mean, I support this move. You know, I was a university vice-chancellor for 8 years and I always upheld free speech because I happen to believe going to university, expressing your views, having your own views challenged is part of the educative process. And it's not just about free speech, it's about academic freedom. There have been some horrendous examples of academics effectively being sent to Coventry by students and other academics because of the views they put forward that are perfectly legitimate. There's already been a really big fine for Sussex University, almost £600,000, because of the disgraceful way that Kathleen Stock was treated. And the government is being very robust and saying academic freedom is non-negotiable, and I think that's very welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. Hallelujah.
We can squeeze this in, actually. An AI-proof job. If you want an AI-proof job, become a sewage worker. Emma, is that up for you? Are you up for that?
Well, it's interesting the way that they've done this research is that they were looking at what sorts of searches people are putting into AI in order to guess what sorts of jobs are likely to be taken over by AI in the future. Obviously, people aren't Googling things like, how do I lay this concrete? How do I sand this floor? And so, for that reason, obviously, jobs that require hands and anything physical is not going to be threatened by AI. I was quite concerned to find out that writer was at the top of the list of jobs that were likely to be threatened by AI. But, I mean, the list of jobs that are not likely to be threatened are the ones you would accept, things like oral surgeons, surgical assistants, nursing assistants.
Powerboat driver.
Powerboat driver, very specific. But this is not surprising. I mean, anything that is remotely sort of desk-based.
What about MPs, Bill? Should we do away with MPs?
I think there'll always be a call for that. But look, I think the end of work has been greatly over-predicted. I remember in my early 20s reading a book called The End of Work, and then it was about the challenge of computerisation. And what happens is that human beings get more creative, respond to the change, and I think that's what will happen with AI. It's going to put a premium on things like, you know, creativity, critical thinking, emotional intelligence, so that, you know, you sell yourself within the workplace, and I think that's going to improve productivity.
I think, though, that, there have been lots of talks about things like using AI in the justice system, and I think that's very concerning.
Do you think?
Yeah, because I think a lot of these jobs, and even creative industries like music, you know, these things, they can, in a technical sense, be done by artificial intelligence.
Well, Drake's latest hit was made with AI.
But the thing is that
It
these...
was like a top of the charts.
In the arts, it's like the soul gets stripped out of the thing. But in things like justice, you know, those things require kind of human moral judgment that an AI doesn't have conscience,
Also,
so it can't
depends
do these things.
what the AI has been programmed to prioritise and who programmed the AI for the AI to work efficiently.
Yeah, it distills the darker parts.
Well, there's
of
always
that.
a truism: put rubbish in and you get rubbish out.
The first thing I would probably get rid of is potentially weather people for AI. AI can do that.
OK. Well, let's hope...
presenters?
I was about to say, let's hope news presenters aren't included in that. Thank you both. You'll be back in the next hour. Let's get your 60-second news update with the very human Lewis Mackenzie.
I can confirm I am a human. The headlines from the GB Newsroom. It's been revealed foreign-born prisoners account for 1 in 8 of the total UK jail population. Conservative MP Katie Lamb told GB News they should all be deported.
They all need to be deported. There is absolutely no reason to have foreign criminals in the UK.
Reports suggest the Whitehall spy unit is being used by the government to target social media posts criticising migrant hotels and two-tier policing. The US has announced fresh tariffs on more than 90 countries as Donald Trump's deadline to strike trade deals passes. Tariffs on the UK remain at 10%. Authorities at Heathrow Airport say a third runway can be built for £21 billion within a decade. This would enable an additional 276,000 flights a year. Those are your headlines for now. More from me in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Well, up next, we'll be checking in on what Martin Daubney is up to in Sunderland. Martin, what's going on there?
Well, the Maid of Steel appear in Sunderland. This is Molly, a statue to the welders of World War II. But it went into meltdown a year ago today. 18 towns across the UK had riots post-Southport. Why did it happen in Sunderland? And why the white working class community has never been listened to or engaged with? And could the same thing happen again? We'll be live from Sunderland after this.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's a fine start out there for many of us. Bright spells will continue through the rest of the day, but further showers are expected, particularly across central and eastern parts of the UK, and it will feel a little fresher with our winds coming from the north-northwest. The heaviest showers as we go through the morning are expected across parts of northern England, into the Midlands, as well as East Anglia and the southeast. Some more persistent rain perhaps into the far east of Norfolk and Suffolk as the day goes on. Brightest weather towards the west and the southwest. Temperatures reaching 23 Celsius, so a little cooler compared with the last few days. But a fine day for many away from those showers, and even where we've got the showers, plenty of bright spells, and it will brighten up further as the evening approaches, most of the showers disappearing. A dry end to the day for Western Scotland into Northern Ireland. Cloud well broken, particularly around coastal areas, and I think for parts of northwest England, North Wales, some decent sunny spells are expected into the evening. The south and southwest likewise a fine end to the day. 1 or 2 showers just continuing for a few hours across the Midlands as well as the North Sea coast. Then we go overnight with clear spells widely and a cooler night compared with recent nights. Still some patchy cloud and a bit of a brisk breeze blowing down the North Sea coast, but temperatures dipping widely to 10 or 11 Celsius, perhaps staying up in the mid-teens in some urban areas. Saturday starts off with plenty of sunshine, particularly towards the west. It's in the east where we've still got some patchy cloud, 1 or 2 showers developing as the day goes on, and a breeze down the North Sea coast. But away from those showers, actually decent sunny spells for many. Saturday's looking like a fine day before the next area of cloud, and rain approaches in the far northwest, and then a more unsettled period Sunday into Monday.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Expect delays due to maintenance on the M9 between junctions 3 and 4. Proceed cautiously and allow extra journey time. In Greater London, a collision on the M25 anti-clockwise between junctions 29 and 28 has led to one-lane closure, expected to resolve by 10:50 this morning. The A40 remains closed for maintenance between the Gibraltar tunnels and Mitchell-Troy. Diversions are set up. And on the trains, South Western Railway faces disruption between Windsor and Eton Riverside, Virginia Water and Feltham, with buses replacing trains. Cross-country services are delayed between Reading and Oxford. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Hello, welcome back. 10:37. Ben and Nana with you on Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Now, 12 months ago, Britain was on the brink in the wake of the horrific Southport attack. Emotions ran high and unrest poured onto our streets.
Yes, but 1 year on, with protests against migrant hotels breaking out, has Britain and has our government learnt anything? Or are our communities more divided than ever before?
Right, GB News presenter Martin Daubney joins us live in Sunderland. Good morning, Martin.
Morning, guys. Excellent show as ever. You join me here from Sunderland. We're at the historic site of the shipbuilding sites, all now, of course, sadly gone. Sunderland's industrial heritage never really replaced. We're also here at the National Glass Centre. You can see here on the site of a former shipbuilding yard. Here's a statue to Molly, who was one of the welders during World War II, keeping the country afloat as the men were away fighting their war. Now, of course, a huge part of this industrial heartland was forever taken away when these areas were closed down, leading to decades, really, of social unravelling, social depravity. And into that void, the city became a city of sanctuary. 830 asylum seekers have been placed in Sunderland, with locals having little or no say over the years. And then Southport happened a year ago tomorrow. It kicked off in Sunderland. I'm here today at the dockside with Nigel Taylor from the National Glass Centre. You're a campaigner with the National Glass Centre. Before we get into the riots, tell us about the National Glass Centre, Nigel, and how important it is for Sunderland.
Well, this is our only national cultural asset that we've got, but it's owned by the university and they have decided to close it July next year. So we've got less than a year to try and save this building. It goes back to Sunderland's great heritage of glassmaking. We've lost our coal mines, we've lost our shipyards. We should have been celebrating 1,350 years of glassmaking in Sunderland last year, and it passed by with a whimper. Nobody made anything of it. We had the first glass in the country, was brought over here by glaziers from Gaul, by Benedict Biscop, and the church where it was is within sight of this glass centre, which is why it was put here. But the university have decided that they don't want it anymore.
All right. So, Nigel, the industrial heritage of the city also is part of its downfall in a sense. Never was really replaced, like we've seen across many working class towns. The coal mines went, the shipbuilding sites went, industry has crumbled. Nothing for white working class lads to do. Social decay, there's high unemployment around here, and that built up a huge sense of frustration, and that was the backdrop for those riots a year ago.
I think people just think that no matter what government we've got, they aren't really listened to. So the concerns that people have just aren't really addressed, and that was part of the backdrop.
And Nigel, one of the things that happened when we saw the riots in Tottenham was that there was a huge social engagement initiative. Let's understand the community, let's understand their frustrations. Why did they riot? That's what happened with the black community. However, across the white working class communities, nothing like that happened. In fact, Sir Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, called these communities far right. Now that might come as a surprise to you. This place has been forever a Labour seat.
It has. As long as I've been alive, it's been Labour MPs. And generally Labour Council, yeah.
And so what do you think is that underpinning sense of disenfranchisement, lack of opportunity, frustration that is felt in these communities? They just simply feel ignored.
I think they do. As I say, I just don't think they think they are listened to if they've got concerns. I just think that they are brushed under the carpet.
And what happened next, of course, is that the Citizen Advice Centre in the town centre was set on fire. I think there were 15 arrests. But again, nobody ever tried to get to the bottom of what was going on. Has anything changed? Has anybody, to your knowledge, been to this area to actually try and engage with the community and understand the frustrations of them?
I believe the council did commission a report to be done. We've asked to see that report. I haven't seen it yet. We did go to, I went with various other people to the sessions that they had, but we haven't seen a report.
And Nigel, I was speaking to a GBNews viewer, Billy, walking his dog earlier on. He lives down Roker there, and he was saying there are lots of houses around there of multiple occupancy. Government, of course, has hoovered up a huge amount of the housing stock around here, so much so, in fact, that despite the fact there are 830 asylum seekers housed in social housing here, there's a 1.1 year waiting list for locals. They feel that they're at the back of the queue.
I don't know those figures, that you're telling me that, but I think it just feeds into the narrative that people aren't being listened to.
And what needs to be done? So this place here, this is the National Glass Centre. You say it might be on borrowed time. I believe you've got a campaign to try and save it. Tell us about that, Nige.
Yeah, we have. We've got a Save the National Glass Centre campaign. If everybody would just go on and sign the petition, we've already got over 38,000 signatures in 70-odd countries. It shows how this facility has actually spread right across the world. But the majority of people signing it are from Sunderland. People love coming here. Children normally brought here, 1,700 children a year come to this to see the magic of glass making. They're talking about putting another facility in the city which will not have an educational facility. So, all the children of Sunderland are going to miss out.
I think there we go. That is the state of Sunderland, really. It's a community that hasn't really been engaged with. They were labelled as far right, and the community is still bubbling over there in the centre. We're going to be doing my show from Sunderland, from a working men's club, 3 till 6 p.m. We'll be engaging with local business owners. We engage with local politicians from the Conservative Party, from Liberal Democrats, from Labour, from Reform, to ask what next for Sunderland. It's one of those towns that still finds itself at a crossroads. 1 year on, nobody really has engaged or listened to them. The frustrations remain the same. The lack of opportunities remain the same. You see here, that is the living quarters of those who work on the Royal Yacht Britannia, as I understand it, about to go into dry dock in Scotland. This was once thriving shipbuilding areas as far as the eye can see, all the way there out into the mouth of the North Sea. This was all once thriving industrial heartlands. Now a few guys fishing and walking their dogs, no jobs for the locals, frustration, low health expectations, low education output, low economic opportunity, and into that vacuum, that's the perfect feeding ground, if you like, for a community left behind, a community ignored, a community called far right, a community chastised by central government, not listened to, and still 1 year on, desperate to be listened to. That's why GB News is here today. The People's Channel, we're going to engage with this community to find out precisely what's driving their frustrations and what can be done to try and resolve them.
Martin, you only missed one bit that we're the #1 news channel, because every day in July we beat the BBC News Channel and Sky News. And yesterday, well, we wiped the floor with them. Hey! So make sure you join.
That's because I was on holiday.
No. We love you, Martin. Thank you, mate. Really appreciate it. Great job. Go get yourself a pint to celebrate, maybe. Is it too early? Well, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit early. But his show, 3 till 6, he'll be live in Sunderland, where I went to university.
Yes.
A fabulous place. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I've got some mates in Borough, in Newcastle as well.
Newcastle.
Great part of the world.
Yeah, lovely part of the world.
Have you heard of Parmos?
I have, yes.
Yeah, love Parmos.
Yeah, very nice.
Discovered them about 10 years ago. Great stuff. Anyway, up next, the US announces fresh tariffs on more than 90 countries as Canada gets stung by a massive increase today.
But if you are in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast of some of the top European destinations.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
If you or anyone you know is heading further afield this weekend, it's going to be very wet in northern Italy and Slovenia. Fine elsewhere, just 1 or 2 showers for the Canaries, a brisk breeze for Madeira. That breeze actually bringing some warmth to Portugal and to parts of Spain as well. But it's for northern Italy into Slovenia, parts of Croatia. We're going to see some very wet weather over the next few days, that transferring southeast into parts of Greece early next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back. 10:50 just about on Britain's Newsroom with Ben Leo and Nana Akweer this morning.
Now, breaking news. Overnight, President Trump has unveiled new tariff rates targeting countries that are yet to strike a trade deal with the US.
The United Kingdom, of course, is spared from further hikes, with our rates remaining at 10%. That follows the UK-US trade deal signed in June.
Canada has seen their rates hiked from 25% to 35% in a new executive order.
Well, Professor of US Foreign and Security Policy, David Dunn, joins us now live. David, good morning. Canada, I don't know, what's your assessment? Not in a good position here on the tail end of a 35% whack.
Well, absolutely. I mean, Canada and the US are the biggest trading partners of each other, and this is potentially very disruptive to that trade. But the wider picture is actually that the US really is in a situation that represents a massive policy failure. Trump promised 90 deals in 90 days, and it would all be sorted by this point in time, the 1st of August. And what we have instead is a situation whereby the US has agreed less than a dozen deals, and most of those are preliminary and actually not worked out in the detail and are subject to change. Even the one with the EU, we find out today that actually he's trying to change the terms on pharmaceuticals, and that's had an impact on the European markets. And it may well be the case that Canada gets an extension. Mexico, another major trading partner of the US, has been given another 90-day extension. So it's part of the way in which Trump does things. But it's massively disruptive to world markets, to predictability, to allow firms to plan how they trade with the world's biggest market, the way in which he changes things and fails to follow through on deals that he promised to get done by this stage.
Now, in terms of the amount that Canada exports to the US, I mean, I've just been reading here that it's about $476 billion US. That is quite a chunk of, you know, their market, isn't it? How much do they import from America?
Well, they do, but it's worth just saying, however, that 90% of the exports from Canada to the US are exempt from this 35% tariff. So you're talking about just 10%, and it's on things like aluminium, steel, auto parts and cars, and lumber. But again, Canada imports a huge amount from the US, and the US could be hit with reciprocal tariffs as a consequence of that. And Canada is seeking to have alternative markets for its goods, trying to move away from a reliance on the United States. It's trying to actually get away from its own internal trade barriers to actually increase trade across Canada, trying to actually insulate itself from the impacts of these tariffs by the US. But it's going to be massively disruptive to both markets. It's going to be inflationary to both countries, and it's going to be damaging to world trade as a whole. The impact of the 15% tariff to the Europeans will be damaging to the German economy. There's talk that Germany might be pushed into recession as a consequence of the increase on the sales of its cars to the biggest market, America, and therefore the whole world's economy is damaged by these policies.
But David, so the US announced a few days ago, maybe yesterday, correct me if I'm wrong, GDP growth of 3%, which was well above expectations. Is that despite tariffs? And is it proof as well also that Trump is handling the economy well?
Well, there's a number of things going on here. So what you've seen is actually a flourish of imports and exports of companies and individuals trying to get deals done before the tariffs hit and before that inflationary pressure comes through. So what you're seeing is to judge it on a very narrow period is to give a false impression. These things will be inflationary. We're talking about $125 billion of tariffs, and what that is of course, $125 billion worth of increased taxes that Americans pay to import goods.
Got it.
It's slightly offset by the fact that Trump has also announced.
All right, David, we're running out of time. Thank you very much, David Dunn. He is the Professor of US Foreign and Security Policy.
Thanks, David. Still to come, be careful what you post on social media because, of course, there's this new Whitehall spy unit monitoring you and your concerns about migrant hotels. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's a fine start out there for many of us. Bright spells will continue through the rest of the day, but further showers are expected, particularly across central and eastern parts of the UK, and it will feel a little fresher with our winds coming from the north-northwest. The heaviest showers as we go through the morning are expected across parts of northern England, into the Midlands, as well as East Anglia and the southeast. Some more persistent rain perhaps into the far east of Norfolk and Suffolk as the day goes on. Brightest weather towards the west and the southwest. Temperatures reaching 23 Celsius, so a little cooler compared with the last few days. But a fine day for many away from those showers, and even where we've got the showers, plenty of bright spells, and it will brighten up further as the evening approaches, most of the showers disappearing. A dry end to the day for Western Scotland into Northern Ireland. Cloud well broken, particularly around coastal areas, and I think for parts of northwest England, North Wales, some decent sunny spells are expected into the evening. The south and southwest likewise a fine end to the day. 1 or 2 showers just continuing for a few hours across the Midlands as well as the North Sea coast. Then we go overnight with clear spells widely and a cooler night compared with recent nights. Still some patchy cloud and a bit of a brisk breeze blowing down the North Sea coast, but temperatures dipping widely to 10 or 11 Celsius, perhaps staying up in the mid-teens in some urban areas. Saturday starts off with plenty of sunshine, particularly towards the west. It's in the east where we've still got some patchy cloud, 1 or 2 showers developing as the day goes on, and a breeze down the North Sea coast. But away from those showers, actually decent sunny spells for many. Saturday's looking like a fine day before the next area of cloud, and rain approaches in the far northwest, and then a more unsettled period Sunday into Monday.
Expect a warm front moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can win big, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? The holiday of a lifetime? Or just sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? Lines close on the 1st of August, so make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning to you. It's 11 o'clock on Friday, August the 1st. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News with Ben Leo and Nana Akwe. And by the way, Britain's #1 news channel.
Right, so yes, good morning to you. Stay sensitive, find out about the secretive Whitehall spy unit used by the government to monitor your social media posts and will target anyone criticising asylum seekers.
It's certainly not about monitoring or looking at free speech and people's ability to say what they believe should or shouldn't happen in terms of immigration policy.
That's right. A secretive Whitehall unit has been spying on tweets and other social media and urging companies to take action over issues they find. Is this Big Brother censorship gone mad?
Epping Hotel protests continue. Demonstrators gathered again outside the Bell Hotel with placards reading, "Protect our kids." They say they won't stop until the hotel is finally closed.
12 months of turmoil, 1 year on since the summer of unrest and fresh protests breaking out across the country at asylum hotels. Has Britain learned anything?
You join me from the historic docklands here in Sunderland. All the shipbuilding industries were around here. But a year ago today, this was one of 18 towns that went into meltdown as riots swept across Britain. Today, I'm here in Sunderland to ask the locals, why did it happen? And could it happen again?
And a year on from that disorder here in Aldershot, 200 people took to a demonstration that day. But a year on, do people here still feel like they are represented within their communities? We've heard issues like housing, safety on the streets and empty shops. We'll be bringing you those thoughts later on.
Foreign convicts surge. 1 in 8 of all prisoners are born overseas, as sex offenders in that group soar nearly 10%. That's rising 3 times faster than British inmates. Why not just deport them all? Well, Conservative MP Katie Lamb thinks we should.
They all need to be deported. There is absolutely no reason to have foreign criminals in the UK.
I'm just wondering, do we actually need some sort of returns policy, or can you simply... You should be able to deport somebody if they've broken the law in your country. I don't think we need a returns. I don't think we need that.
Well, I think every other normal thinking company behaves that way. Australia, you can't get into Australia if you've committed crime. Likewise, the US most of the time. Yeah. So why can't we just behave like any other normal country? What's wrong with us? And by the way, the amount of times I've seen, let's give an example, paedophiles, the most horrific child abusers, walk free from court because the judge has said explicitly, in any other conditions, when prisons aren't full, you'd be getting a custodial sentence. But the amount of times those kind of people walk free from court, and yet we have foreign criminals who we could just kick out and free up space.
Or we put people in prison for hurty words, like Lucy Connolly. Nobody said that what she wrote was acceptable, but prison, really?
Yeah.
What do you think? What should we be doing? Look, it's just coming up to 3 minutes after 11 o'clock. We'd love to hear your thoughts, your comments at gbnews.com/your say. But first, let's get your latest news with Lewis Mackenzie.
Ben, Nana, thank you very much. Good morning. It's just after 11 o'clock. Here are your latest GB News headlines. Let's start with some breaking news. 10 men have been arrested over historic child sexual abuse offences. The individuals were arrested from addresses in Bradford. The 10 men, aged between 49 and 71, have been interviewed and bailed pending further inquiries. The allegations relate to offences which are reported to have occurred in the district between 1994 and 1997 and relate to 6 victims who were aged just 13 to 15 at the time. We'll, of course, bring you more on this story here on GB News. Moving on, it's been revealed that foreign-born prisoners account for 1 in 8 of the total UK jail population. According to official data published for the first time, the number of foreigners in prisons for serious, violent, sexual and theft offences has also risen over the past year. Conservative MP Katie Lamb told GB News they should all be removed from the country.
They all need to be deported. So the Conservatives actually in Parliament tried to amend the law, the Borders Bill that the government passed earlier this year, to say that everybody who commits a crime will need to leave the country. And I and my Shadow Home Office colleagues tabled those amendments and voted for them. The government voted them down, but there is absolutely no reason to have foreign criminals in the UK.
Reports suggest a Whitehall spy unit has been used by the government to target social media posts criticising migrant hotels and two-tier policing. The Telegraph newspaper claim officials working for Technology Secretary Peter Kyle have flagged videos with, quote, concerning narratives to social media giants, including TikTok, warning that they were exacerbating tensions on the streets. Home Office Minister Dame Diana Johnson told GB News Breakfast that free speech is a cornerstone of our democracy and that the Online Safety Act protects it.
No, we're not having our free speech monitored at all. And it's absolutely right that people can express their views within the law on social media. What I would say is that the police, and particularly last autumn when we had the disorder in August actually, it was absolutely right that the police should be looking and monitoring what was being put onto social media in terms of organisation of riots and have that information to allow them then to plan what they needed to provide in terms of protecting the public.
The US has announced fresh tariffs on more than 90 countries as Donald Trump's deadline to strike trade deals passes. Tariffs on Canada increased from 25% to 35%. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says he's disappointed. And south of the border, higher tariffs for Mexico are being paused for another 90 days, while Brazil faces a 50% levy. Tariffs on the UK remain at 10%. Staying stateside, President Donald Trump has described Russia's action in Ukraine as disgusting and says he will impose new sanctions on Moscow. At least 15 people were killed and hundreds wounded after a barrage of Russian aerial attacks on Kyiv yesterday. Earlier this week, President Trump said Moscow will be hit with secondary sanctions and tariffs unless a ceasefire is agreed by the 8th of August.
Russia, I think it's disgusting what they're doing. I think it's disgusting. This is Biden's war. It's not my war. But I said if I get in, I'll try and get the thing stopped. Yeah, we're going to put sanctions. I don't know that sanctions bother him. You know, they know about sanctions. I know better than anybody about sanctions and tariffs and everything else. I don't know if that has any effect, but we're going to do it. Europe is extremely upset. But this is a war that should have never happened.
Authorities at Heathrow Airport say a third runway can be built for £21 billion within a decade. The airport has submitted plans to the government for a new full-length runway, but insists it is open to considering a shorter one. The West London hub is seeking permission to open a new 3,500-metre runway to the northwest of its existing location. This would enable an additional 276,000 flights a year. And finally, a town councillor has stepped down after only a month so his wife can enter a gardening competition. Tony Hewitt, a Reform councillor from County Durham, was appointed to Ferryhill Town Council on the 1st of May. But as the council judges the floral competition, he decided to resign when it became clear his wife couldn't compete after working, quote, hard all year. Mr Hewitt says that some people have challenged him over his decision, but replies that his wife's happiness is more important. Well, those are your latest GB News headlines for now. Finance next.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
So here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy you $1.3164 and 1.1537 euros. The price of gold is at £2,503 and 86 pence per ounce, and the FTSE 100's at 9,069 points.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, good morning. 10 past 11, just about, on Britain's Newsroom with Ben Leo and Nana Akweer. Thank you for your company this morning. Have you got some emails?
Yeah,
Nana?
a lot of you have been getting in touch. We've been talking about the fact that we seem to want to put lots of foreign prisoners in our prisons instead of sending them back. And Christina says if they can't be imprisoned because there's no space, then just deport them. They can challenge their sentence from where they are deported to. Exactly, because not only that, but when they mount legal appeals as well, they then get legal aid, and we're paying for that, and it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. Mandy, you've said rather than spy on all of our social media posts, would it not be time better spent deporting all these boat people? Then you get picked up for that, Mandy. You might get a knock at the door.
Yeah, watch out. The new government unit, they've been set up to look out for stuff like that. And then, OK, Gordon says, I'm an old git, and there is an old saying, make the punishment fit the crime. People should pay for their crimes, but we are paying in pounds for their crimes. So better to get rid of them for good. As in what? You don't mean the death penalty. You mean send them back, don't you?
And Rob, just on the news that GB News last month, for the entire month of July, for the first time ever in our short history, beat Sky News and BBC News Channel in the ratings, the official Barb ratings. Rob, you've said, I've been a viewer of GB News since day one and have spread the word to people I know to check it out. Thank you for that. Of course, many have said, oh, it's racist and far right, yet everyone that's tuned in to check it out are now loyal viewers themselves. No wonder the establishment outputs are on the decline whilst GB News is on the up. Yeah, and I've found that myself, Rob, as well. When people say hello, when I'm out and about, they'll say, oh, I only tuned in for the first time maybe 3, 4, 5 months ago because I heard about this narrative that it was, I don't know, bigoted or far right or whatever. And they said, when I tuned in, I just found open and honest debate, more so than you'd get on any other channel. We go above and beyond our sort of Ofcom responsibilities. and for the majority of the time, it's just open, honest, fair debate.
Well, it's important. I think it's important to have conversations, just to hear all sides of an argument, so then you can make a fair assessment on where you stand with it, not be pummeled with the same narrative, so that eventually you're brainwashed into complying. And then PEW talks about migrants as well and says the government vilifies us, branding us racist and far right, yet they want our cash to fund their reverse colonisation project of our own country. Yes, it's true. That is quite true.
I'm just going back briefly to GB News. It was indicative of how the media landscape is changing in the UK. The other day when GB News, Christopher Hope, Bev Turner were in Scotland speaking to Trump and Keir Starmer, and Bev and Chopper were reading off all these questions, some making massive headlines. You know, there were great questions about boats, about tax,
farmers,
free speech, farmers as well. What did BBC News lead on at the news at 10 that night? Gaza. They didn't cover any of those questions at all. Any of Trump's comments about the UK, any of Starmer's responses to Trump and GB News in the press room, they led on Gaza. So
I mean, the irony as well is that there Donald Trump was in a room taking questions openly for almost 90 minutes. There was none of Beth Rigby, Sky News, Chris this, BBC. There was none of selecting who you ask, receive questions from, and then ignoring GB News, or perhaps we don't get time. But this time it was an open situation, and Donald Trump fielded any question and answered every question.
Yeah, isn't it refreshing to see? Right, let's move on. A secretive Whitehall spy unit has reportedly been used by the government to target social media posts, yours at home possibly, criticising migrant hotels and the concept of two-tier policing.
Yes, according to The Telegraph, emails obtained by a US committee revealed that civil servants raised concerns with social media platforms, warning that certain posts contained concerning narratives.
Yeah, concerning for who? The reports have sparked accusations of state censorship, something the Home Office strenuously denies.
Well, joining us in the studio is our political editor, Christopher Hope, to tell us more about this.
This is great news about GB News, by the way. I'm going to support everything you say about our channel. It's amazing. So thank you for saying all that.
Thank you for your efforts, Chris.
Yeah, not at all. It's a team game. We're a big family. It's great fun. And it's important work. This is really important work too. This is a government unit within the Cabinet Office. What used to be called the Counter-Disinformation Unit, which has Orwellian feelings about it, is now called the National Security and Online Information Team. The Telegraph has uncovered FOI, Freedom of Information documents from inside Whitehall, showing how they were trying to the officials there were contacting social media companies last summer, concerned about the tweets being made about people concerned about migrant hotels in the wake of the fighting that broke out after the Southport attacks. Well, the fighting obviously is very bad, but some of it was just protesting. Big concerns here. This team was pressuring TikTok, saying, what are you going to do about this? We take this down, this breaks your terms and conditions. What will you do about it? Campaigns are concerned. Big Brother Watch, which is a campaign group, they say that legitimate concerns about racism and violence must not become a blank cheque for monitoring and censoring controversial speech. American politicians are unhappy about this. Jim Jordan, who's the chair of the US House of Representatives Justice Committee, he says this is evidence of censorship, a double standard in the UK. Mean tweets get you a longer prison sentence than many violent offenders. We've seen it here with Lucy Connolly and elsewhere. And it shows, I think, how the government can get it wrong when trying to, well, they shouldn't be policing, frankly, social media, but there we are.
Yeah, it's Orwellian. And it's concerning to see that the same COVID nudge unit has been rebranded. I mean, that nudge unit had dossiers and all sorts of people for commenting on vaccine safety, lockdowns, whatever. And look what happened 5 years on. Most of them have been proved right. Christopher, thank you very much. Appreciate your company.
Hey up! By gum, today is Yorkshire Day.
I'm glad you did that, not me.
Sorry about that.
This year, the celebrations for Yorkshire Day will be hosted in the town of Ilkley. And did you know that Licorice All Sorts, one of my favourites, was founded by Bassett's in Sheffield?
Really? Well, former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak tweeted this morning to affirm his love of the country. I went to his place, not his house, but Richmond, his constituency. Beautiful, beautiful place.
GB News reporter Anna Riley joins us live now from Yorkshire. Anna, what's going on?
Hey up and welcome to Ilkley, the co-host of Yorkshire Day this year, along with Bradford. It's Bradford City of Culture 2025, but we're in this gorgeous location here, and I'm delighted to be joined by the Ilkley Town Crier, Isabel Ashman. Isabel, just tell us what Yorkshire Day means to you.
Well, for me, as someone who doesn't come from Yorkshire, as you can tell from my accent, it's a day where I feel very, very included in Yorkshire. The Yorkshire Declaration states that anybody that lives and resides or was born in Yorkshire is a Yorkshire man and woman. So it's a celebration of Yorkshire as a whole, one of the most populous counties in the UK, and also one of inclusivity for everybody that lives here or works here.
And just tell us about the schedule for the day, because we've had the world's largest gathering of mayors here. We saw them parade down the centre of Ilkley. What's planned? You've got a special declaration at 12 o'clock, haven't you?
I have, yeah. That was quite a spectacle, wasn't it? It was much, much bigger than I was expecting. Really stunning. I'd like to see that on replay at some point, because I was at the front. They're all now going to a church service at All Saints on the Grove. At the end of that, they're all going to come and join me at the station for the Yorkshire Declaration, which will be made all across Yorkshire, and every town and country that's got a town crier will make that declaration. It's the same one since 1975. And then they're all going to have a very nice lunch, which I believe I've been invited to. And then we've got entertainment all weekend. We've got music all day on the Grove tomorrow. The Grove's closed. Everyone's encouraged to come along and bring picnics. We've got markets on Sunday. It's just a whole weekend of celebration.
And you look brilliant in your regalia. How important do you think it is that we keep these traditions up like Yorkshire Day?
I absolutely love them. I think they're a really backbone of Britain, aren't they? They're old-fashioned, yes, but particularly town crying has an ancient history, and the oral tradition is a great one. You're part of it, you're part of it. We all read to our children. Sharing news and stories by mouth is just the best way of doing it. So I'm really, really big fan of town crying.
And you've got a special cry that you're going to do for us now, Isabel. I'll let you take it away.
Oh, yay! Oh, yay! Oh, yay! Welcome all to this Yorkshire Day, the day we love the most. This year, we're hosting the Lord Mayors and Town Mayors of Yorkshire, from the West Riding to the East Coast. As host town during Bradford City of Culture in 2025, to the mayors from Yorkshire up and down, it is our pleasure to see you here in Ilkley, and we warmly welcome you to our town. God save the King!
Woo! Round of applause for that. That was fantastic, Isabel. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Happy Yorkshire Day. We're going to cover the proclamation at 12 o'clock, and there's going to be a song, On Ilkley Moor Bar Tat, which means on Ilkley Moor without your hat. Happy Yorkshire Day.
Love it, Anna Riley. Thank you very much. It's a fabulous town crier as well. And apologies to anyone in Yorkshire for our ghastly accents. We're not, taking the mickey. We're just trying to be part of the celebrations.
Oh, very good. Love that. Thank you, Anna. Right, it is the last day to see how you can become £54,321 richer in our Great British Giveaway. Lines close at 4 p.m. today, so you've got about 4 hours, 40 minutes to make yourself a little bit richer. Here's all the details you need to win.
There's only a few hours left now to see how you can win big. £54,321 in tax-free cash is up for grabs in our summer Great British Giveaway. Cash to spend on anything you like. All of that cash could send you on a holiday, boost your savings, or just send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. Lines close at 4 p.m. today, so get your entry in now. For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Right, good luck indeed. Up next, another benefit for those who work from home. Not only do they avoid travel costs and any hard work, it turns out they're clocking off early as well. No surprises there. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain. Its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record. You say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 23 minutes after 11 o'clock. This is Britain's Newsroom with me, Nana Akwe and Ben Leo. And joining us in the studio, former Labour MP Bill Rammell and political commentator Emma Trimble. Right, let's start with the secretive Whitehall spy unit that's been used by the government to target social media posts criticising migrant hotels and two-tier policing.
Are we surprised? So all of the news that we've seen over the last even just 24 hours about you know, all of the stuff about the numbers of people crossing the channel. And now, rather than putting their resources into dealing with that, they're putting their resources into spying on the British public. And this is not just, you know, keeping an eye on what people are saying online. This is contacting the social media companies and flagging this stuff to companies like TikTok. It's a bit like the Twitter files in the States. And of course, this has come out of a congressional hearing in the United States, so they're paying attention to this. I mean, it's just such an unbelievable violation of people's right to express their opinions. It's just not acceptable in a liberal democracy.
See, now, when I first started at GB News, I have to say I was relatively naive, but I left the BBC because of this kind of thing, and I could see that, hang on a minute, things aren't being said, and I want to talk about climate change, and nobody wants to talk about it or discuss it. What do you make of this? Seeing as you're more on the left, do you approve of the idea of them spying on Twitter posts and things and two-tier police?
I mean, look, I'm an absolute champion of free speech, but if you are advocating violence or committing acts of violence, then that needs to be policed. And a lot of this stuff happens online. You know, this was a unit set up by the last government. Yes, it's carried on. But one, it's not spying on people, it's identifying trends so that you can target policing, and it's ensuring that the social media companies actually follow their own guidelines. Now, neither of those, I think, is a contravention of free speech. And I think in terms of...
You don't think so?
No, I don't. And I think
so you think that Lucy Connolly should be in prison for the duration that she's up there for?
Yeah, I do. And I would urge anyone with concerns about that case to actually look at the transcript of the appeal judgment. She explicitly pleaded guilty to deliberate incitement to violence. She didn't go through what's called a Newton hearing because she didn't think she would be a credible witness. And the appeal judges at the end described her evidence as extraordinary. Well, that's judge speak for your life.
Yeah, but sometimes people plead guilty because they are told if they do that they get a lighter sentence. And obviously she couldn't deny that she'd posted that.
She was bounced into it by a junior solicitor.
But she also went on.
She didn't know what was going on. And also, sorry, I'll just say as well on Lucy Connolly, the background to her case, she lost a child very, very young, years ago, which she blames the NHS for. She had a very strong sense of not trusting authorities in the UK. She deleted the tweet 4 hours later. Yes, it was wrong. Compare it to America, it wouldn't reach the thresholds of incitement. There was so much to that case. It's not just, oh, she pled guilty to inciting violence, she deserves her prison sentence. Let's talk about the fact she hasn't had licence on leave, which most other prisoners would get. She's a single mum. She's a mother of one child. Her husband is poorly. The whole case stinks, Bill, and I can't believe anyone can't see that.
You know, this channel champions free speech, and there is an alternative view, and I've actually taken the trouble to read the appeal court judgment, and yes, she withdrew the tweet, but by then 310,000 people had read it. It was deliberate incitement, and you know, she wouldn't put herself forward as a witness because she didn't think she was
Can I
credible.
just ask, so with Mike Amesbury, who punched someone to the floor, and then, you know, then he got a suspended sentence, so he didn't even go to jail at all, and that looked quite unprovoked to me. So you think that you would say that his was comparatively worse than what Lucy Connolly did, because this is an act of actual violence rather than maybe mentioning it?
Right, I think...
Oh, no, I'm just asking you, do you think that that level of punishment that he received is fair when you consider 31 months in prison for Lucy Connolly?
On the face of it, no.
Exactly.
But I think hold on. I think what's really important is that you read the full context of court rulings and the judgment that he's made.
That's fine, but I'm talking about actual violence rather than mentioning something that could be seen as violence. Somebody's actually punched someone to the floor on camera and doesn't even...
Committing acts of violence is more serious.
He was an MP as well, which is even worse
than advocating it.
The great irony is, though, that you pointing out that there is a disparity there in treatment is an accusation of two-tier policing, and that is precisely...
Well, and that's
what they want to avoid.
That's the one area of this that I've got a concern about.
If I could just finish what I was going to say. Look, yes, I agree with you about Lucy Connolly. I disagree with you. But that's not what this is about. This is about the government flagging to social media companies people who are talking about not being happy about migrant hotels, people who are concerned about two-tier policing. The government have just brought in their Online Safety Act. This was a piece of legislation that people were concerned about from the beginning because of its effect on freedom of speech. Repeatedly, people were reassured, no, this is just going to be trying to look out for the safety of children. But even just in the first week, there have been all sorts of things censored by this, including, you know, just simply posts about, you know, historical figures, about Roman consuls, about the Crusades, things like that, and footage of protests. So this is all part of a bigger picture of the government interfering with people's democratic rights to express their opinion.
Emma,
It's not about incitement.
The bigger picture is that 80% of people, according to polling, support the Online Safety Act. I think there are genuine concerns. But in terms of two-tier policing, I think it's really important that the police, this unit, are proportionate. And if you are making criticisms about asylum seekers being housed in hotels or two-tier policing, that is perfectly legitimate. The bottom line within this is that this unit, in its monitoring, has not led to the prosecution of anyone.
Well, listen,
it's not about prosecution. It's about social media companies removing things when the government asked them to, which is exactly what happened in the Twitter files when the United States government, Democrats, were interfering, contacting employees at places like Twitter and getting things removed from social media. It's not about the use of the law. It's about the use of extrajudicial means in order to prevent people from being able to express themselves freely.
And there's a real problem that social media companies do not adhere to their own guidelines of removing violent content or content that incites violence, and I think that's a real concern.
Fine, but criticising migrant hotels isn't a breach of...
No, and I fully acknowledge that, Ben.
And also, the point that I was making, which I was doing that to you, Mike, and comparing the two, was that those are the two tiers. Of course, Emma caught on to that, and so you're not really up for the two-tier policing, because you can see yourself that, comparatively, Mike Amesbury and Lucy Connolly, well, one of those should be in jail if that's the level, and it should actually be Mike if that's the level, and it doesn't make sense. And me criticising that would be a problem.
No, it wouldn't be a problem.
Well, it would be two-tier.
It would if you read the emails in this report.
You do say that, and there's absolutely no fear of prosecution.
Well, you don't know that,
But it's not about prosecution.
How do you know that?
It's about having your speech censored online when you absolutely have a right to say it.
And that's a legitimate point of view, Emma, but the whole body of public opinion thinks there's a real concern there, and tech companies need to be policed.
All right, Bill Rammell and also Emma Trimble, thank you very much.
Here's your 60-second news update with Lewis Mackenzie.
Good morning. The headlines from the GB Newsroom. 10 men have been arrested over historic child sexual abuse offences in Bradford. The 10 men, aged between 49 and 71, have been interviewed and bailed pending further inquiries. It's been revealed foreign-born prisoners account for 1 in 8 of the total UK jail population. Conservative MP Katie Lamb told GB News they should all be removed from the country.
They all need to be deported. There is absolutely no reason to have foreign criminals in the UK.
Reports suggest a Whitehall spy unit is being used by the government to target social media posts criticising migrant hotels and two-tier policing. The US has announced fresh tariffs on more than 90 countries as Donald Trump's deadline to strike trade deals passes. Tariffs on the UK remain at 10%. Well, those are your GB News headlines for now. More from me in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you, Lewis. Up at noon is Good Afternoon Britain with Tom and Dawn. Good morning, you two. What's on the show today?
Morning. Would you step in if you saw someone commit a crime? Would you intervene? Would you be a have-a-go vigilante hero?
Yes.
You think so?
But it's different for me because I'm a fairly tall guy and
Yeah.
I appreciate somebody else might not want to.
I would as well.
You would?
I would have to. I couldn't just stand by and allow.
I would. I did actually punch a lamppost when someone nicked my mobile phone. I couldn't
You
get.
say someone else then?
I couldn't get. Oh, don't tempt me. I couldn't get hold of the actual person who nicked my phone, so I punched the nearest thing, which was a lamppost.
And how did you handle
really
that?
not good.
No.
Really not good. No.
That's, but this is interesting because there's
Would
a lot
you
of
step in?
controversy.
Would you step in?
So I think it depends on the crime. If it's a whole big group of people that are armed, I think I probably would be unwise to step in.
Yeah.
But there have been instances where I've chased down people who've, barged through tube barriers or various things like that. That a few weeks ago, which was exhilarating.
Imagine that.
Did you catch them?
Tom Harwood.
Superhero.
Vigilante.
I couldn't really have caught
You were
them.
like when you're doing that sort of thing?
No,
Being a
I was
superhero?
actually on my way home from work. I was in my suit, but I followed them and I filmed them on my phone and made them a little bit famous on Twitter. But it's just sort of the public shaming that I think should happen more with low-level crime.
I think most people would. I think the problem you've got now is you just don't know if people are carrying knives.
And also, even if you do step in, the law doesn't always fall on your side. And then even if you do get all the information, the police are a bit lacklustre and you can give them all the evidence.
Well, this is
and
the
then
worrying
Crown
thing.
Prosecution
How many
Service
people have
never do
fought back
anything.
against home invaders? And then it's the person whose home is being invaded that ends up being dragged through the courts. I mean, the reason this conversation comes up is the Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Philp, has said that people should intervene. And I think that's sort of a natural response from a lot of people, but there are some big ethical questions about it, and frankly, legal questions too.
Yeah. And we're also talking brain chips as well, because Tom's having one, aren't you? Or
I
have
am.
you had one already?
I've had a Neuralink.
This is the wire
installed.
coming out here.
Yeah, it's popping out here of my head.
Yeah.
It means I can talk to computers without. No, I don't really have one. But Brits in the next 5 years will be able to have. Currently, there are around a dozen Americans who have these things installed in their head. They're made by Elon Musk's company Neuralink, and people who are quadriplegic and can't. Interact with their hands in a normal way and interface can play video games now just by thinking about it. It's incredible.
Wonderful.
Saw a video for the first time yesterday. Was it on Twitter? Some woman in America had Neuralink, and for the first time in her life, she was able to write. Or start
It is
writing
amazing,
at least something that was.
And obviously we're continuing 1 year of turmoil, the migrant crisis and the unrest on the streets. Is it any better now? Spoiler alert.
Maybe we should get a brain chip for Keir Starmer.
Yes. Got to find a brain first, Nana.
Oh, that's a good point. Right, all of that and more at midday. Up next, we'll be checking in on what Martin Daubney is doing in Sunderland. Martin, what's going on?
Yeah, 1 year ago today, this high street in Sunderland was burning. Citizens Advice Bureau there was caved in. The windows behind me, a now abandoned police station was set fire to. Multiple arrests. 1 year on, I was speaking to locals and politicians. What happened? What caused those riots? Has anybody listened to this community? And more pertinently, could they happen again? That's coming next.
Hello, very good day to you. This is your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now, Storm Floris has just been named and it's going to bring some very wet and very windy weather, particularly to northern parts on Monday, but starting off going through the rest of today. And there are some showers around, particularly across central and more so eastern parts. And here it could be quite blustery too, but there will be some sunny breaks in between the showers. A fair good deal amount of sunshine across some western parts, and in that sunshine it's going to feel pretty warm. Temperatures not quite as high as they have been recently, but nonetheless still just about getting into the high teens or low 20s for quite a few places. Then as we go through into this evening, still a scattering of showers, particularly across central and eastern parts. The odd heavy one is possible. Further west, a greater chance of avoiding the showers. Across Northern Ireland, only 1 or 2 showers perhaps here. Across parts of northern England, central eastern Scotland, a fair few showers for a little while yet, but as we go overnight, most of the showers are going to fizzle out. They're going to die out and clear away, and so it is going to turn largely dry with clear skies, the exception being across parts of the far east of England, East Anglia for example, a swathe of showery rain likely to push in as we go through the early hours of tomorrow. Elsewhere, under those clear skies then, it is going to be a bit of a fresh night, a little bit chillier than some recent nights, with temperatures away from the towns and cities quite widely just about dipping into single digits. Then through tomorrow, yes, a bit more cloud and some showery rain across the far east, southeast of England early on, but otherwise it's looking like a largely fine day, only 1 or 2 showers around, some decent sunny spells to look forward to, and with that temperatures are going to be a little bit higher than today. We're looking at highs of around 24 or 25 Celsius. But as we go through into Sunday, there is going to be a band of rain sweeping its way southeastwards. Could be quite heavy and thundery as well, and then on Monday, a deep area of low pressure, Storm Floris, is going to bring some very windy weather.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
Hello, good morning, welcome back. It's 11:39. Ben and Nana with you on Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Now, 12 months ago, Britain was on the brink in the wake of the horrific Southport attack. Emotions ran high and unrest poured onto our streets.
Yes, but 1 year on, with protests against migrant hotels breaking out still, has Britain learnt anything, and the government, I'll include in that as well, or are our communities more divided than ever before?
Well, GB News presenter Martin Daubney joins us live from Sunderland. Martin, tell us more.
Yeah, hi guys, you join us from Waterloo Place. 1 year ago tomorrow, this building here used to be the police station. The police station was torched after a riot broke out. Of course, riots broke out across the entire nation, across 18 towns, in the aftermath, of course, of Axel Rudakabana's killing spree in Southport. The building here used to be the Citizens Advice Bureau. That was caved in. The front window was caved in by frustrated locals. That's now moved a couple of blocks down there. I'm joined by my next guest, and that is a Conservative councillor for the Sunderland area, Dominic McDonough. Dominic, we're here a year on, and I've been speaking to locals all across the dockside this morning. The thing they keep saying is that nobody ever has really spoken to the people around here. Nobody's ever engaged with them. Why do you think this was almost the perfect tinderbox, those riots 1 year ago?
People feel really forgotten. I mean, on the riots, there was 2 things. People were bussed in. There was troublemakers who just wanted to destroy things, absolutely 100%. But there was also people who were really frustrated. You know, they see services getting worse. They see more tax. You know, they have to pay more tax. There's less money in their pocket. They're really struggling. So I think some of this was through frustration, and unfortunately, we're still seeing that frustration.
Dominic, one of the key things that people don't seem to understand, which I'd like to explain to GBNews viewers now, is the City of Sanctuary. It's a nationwide scheme. Sounds great, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What it basically does is it's local authorities join the sanctuary scheme, and then they are paid by central government to take asylum seekers into an area, usually Labour councils, has to be said. That's what happened in Sunderland. 830 asylum seekers taken into this area, and as a consequence, social housing, a huge shortage. In fact, there's a backlog now of over 1.1 years for locals to get on that ladder.
Yeah, I think that's a major frustration. I mean, I spoke out against the sanctuary city when it came to council a couple of years ago, and not necessarily because we don't want people to come to the city. I mean, this is a very welcoming city. We don't mind helping people, but there was no plan put in place. I warned that we needed a plan for housing, we needed a plan for school places, we needed a plan for, you know, doctors' places, and that was never put in place. On the face of it, the sanctuary city was a really nice thing. It was saying, oh, you know, welcome to our city, it'll be absolutely great. But I warned that there was no plan in place, and that's why we're struggling. And unfortunately, people living in the city are now really annoyed because, you know, they're struggling to get doctor's appointments, they're struggling to get schools places, and they see this as one of the reasons. It's not the only reason, by all means, but they see it as one of the reasons.
Dominic, one of the common threads again across the 18 towns that saw riots, not only is the huge amount of asylum seekers per capita, but the lack of economic opportunities. Sunderland, the global epicentre of shipbuilding, of coal mining, latterly of glass making, all of that has gone away. There's a backdrop of social depravity, and the local communities feeling there's nothing for them to do. Economic outputs, the educational outputs are poor. There's a scarcity of opportunity, and yet when they see people coming in and getting everything for free, there's frustration.
People want opportunity, like you said. They want jobs. They want to be able to, you know, earn their keep. They want to be able to earn a good wage and get a good job. And at the minute, they can't do that. Things are getting worse. You know, the unemployment figures are going up and people are really, really frustrated. We need to turn that round. And unfortunately, as a city, they don't feel listened to, and actually they feel sneered at often. And if they raise, for example, you know, concerns about immigration, they're shouted down, and that's really dangerous, because if you don't listen to people, they're going to turn around and, you know, they're going to make themselves heard in other ways, and that's really dangerous. We need to listen to people and stop sneering at them.
Dominic, it was worse than that, actually, because they were called by the Prime Minister far right. And I wanted to ask you, as a councillor who understands the heartbeat of this area, how helpful or unhelpful was it for the Prime Minister to call people around here far right?
It was incredibly unhelpful. I mean, don't get me wrong, like I said at the start, you know, some people were bussed into the city who were far right, who just wanted to cause trouble and cause, you know, huge amounts of damage. But there's also people here who have legitimate concerns and they want to be listened to. And for the Prime Minister to come out and say things like that, once again, it's sneering at people. And that makes people feel belittled, unheard, and really frustrated. It's dangerous, quite frankly.
Dominic, I want to ask you this simple question. 1 year on, have we learned anything in Sunderland? And nobody wants there to be more trouble, but do you think that this could still be very much an area on edge?
I really hope not. The Labour Council turned around last week and they announced that they're not accepting any more asylum seekers into the city. Does that mean they've listened? I'm not so sure.
But because they're full.
Well, well, perhaps. I hope it doesn't happen again, but politicians need to start listening and stop sneering.
Okay, Dominic McDonald, thank you very much. Conservative councillor for Sunderland area. Join me throughout the rest of the day. I'll be doing my show 3 till 6 p.m. from a working men's club, speaking to former coal miners, the beating heart of the community, and a soup kitchen where veterans, British Army veterans, are being served soup while asylum seekers as well. They're enjoying the life of Riley. Stay with us throughout the day here in Sunderland.
All right, Martin, we'll look forward to that. Thank you very much, Martin Torpenny. Out in Sunderland, don't forget, tune in 3 till 6, he'll be live. But Graham sent a message in for Martin. He says, Martin Torpenny is such a great people person. He draws people out to speak their mind on television without fear. Well done, GB News, and well done to Martin.
I know, isn't it strange to see people who can just behave and communicate normally, like a normal person, you know?
Yes.
Not like a robot, not like some corporate, you know, products of a manufactured, I don't know, government entity or something.
Automaton.
Just normal person. Hello, how you doing? How you feeling? Anyway, moving on. If you're in search for some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some top European holiday destinations.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast. If you or anyone you know is heading further afield this weekend, it's going to be very wet in northern Italy and Slovenia. Fine elsewhere, just 1 or 2 showers for the Canaries, a brisk breeze for Madeira. That breeze actually bringing some warmth to Portugal, into parts of Spain as well. But it's for northern Italy into Slovenia, parts of Croatia. We're going to see some very wet weather over the next few days, that transferring southeast into parts of Greece early next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're
the failure is...
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Right, welcome back. Sticking with the 12 months of turmoil, GB News' newly appointed national reporter Jack Carson joins us live now from Aldershot. Jack, first of all, congratulations to you. Well-deserved promotion, my friend. How are you feeling?
Thank you very much. No, I'm feeling very good, very excited for what is next. And what a way to start it with our coverage here in Aldershot. Similarly to Martin Daubney, here a year ago, there was disorder that broke out at a nearby hotel that was housing migrants. And there has been protests since, still protests planned outside that hotel. But a year on, we're here talking to people, finding out actually whether things have changed, whether they feel represented, whether they feel like their concerns are being listened to. Now, Jib Belbashe is a Nepali who's emigrated here and has lived here for decades now. Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, thinking back to that disorder last year, I mean, how did you feel seeing that? Do you understand the frustrations? Do you have similar frustrations to those people?
Yes, the thing is, you know, the local people, seems like, you know, people are trying to say that the local people, they don't like the immigration, but they mean people who are coming illegally. They don't want them. But now the government is, making really tough for those people who are actually working and paying the tax as well. So this is something not right, and it is really, bad.
Is it you come here? You're a local business owner. You run a bar and casino here. So you've immigrated, and actually you've done a lot of work for the Nepali community here. With here being the base of the Gurkhas in the army, there's a lot of integration. There's a lot of a Nepali community here that have integrated really well. So this community isn't against immigration.
No, not at all. Because yes, even we don't want those people who enter the country illegally, but people who are coming here and giving something to the country, why should we just, say not to come? And now, every single places wherever you go, all those, foreign people, they're working really hard. And now, like people come in here, do something, the government is making really tough. Now people can't come. Because if the company also can't hire people from the outside, and they can't pay that much money, like 55,000 per person, who can afford to do that?
So what are the issues here? What is important for you? And do you feel actually, a year on from the disorder we saw, like you're being listened to?
I don't think so, because in past I used to be the councillor. I used to be the local Nepali community leader. So those time we used to have like a David Clifford council leader, Gareth Lane council leader. We used to go to the business to business. We used to do the meeting with the key people. What is the problems are? So they raise the problem, we sort it out. We go to the business, what type of support they needed. But this morning I have seen one of the business person, we are suffering like anything. So there is no any communication. Nobody, care about anybody. And even one of the, guy come to me, what's going on? Everywhere litter, all over the grasses. The kids, they finding really hard to go to the school as well.
Okay, well, it sounds like there's a lot of issues there. Schools there, businesses really struggling. Jiv, thank you so much for joining us this morning and giving us that perspective. A year on from the disorder we saw here in Aldershot, still a lot of people unhappy and problems that they feel like they aren't being listened to and they aren't being solved.
All right, Jack Carson, thank you very much. Have you heard the news? GB News was Britain's #1 news channel in July. Woohoo! Get in there.
Thank you for your support. That's it from us today. We're back tomorrow now for Good Afternoon Britain with Dawn and Tom. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Woohoo indeed. Cracking show coming up. Are you working class enough for Labour's civil service?
And indeed, is it a war between the Mayor of London and the Prime Minister? Yes, Starmer versus Khan. Whose side are you on? That's all over the thorny issue of airport expansion. But so much more, of course, to come, all after your weather forecast.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's a fine start out there for many of us. Bright spells will continue through the rest of the day, but further showers are expected, particularly across central and eastern parts of the UK. And it will feel a little fresher with our winds coming from the north-northwest. The heaviest showers as we go through the morning are expected across parts of northern England, into the Midlands, as well as East Anglia and the southeast. Some more persistent rain perhaps into the far east of Norfolk and Suffolk as the day goes on. Brightest weather towards the west and the southwest. Temperatures reaching 23 Celsius, so a little cooler compared with the last few days. But a fine day for many away from those showers, and even where we've got the showers, plenty of bright spells. And it will brighten up further as the evening approaches, most of the showers disappearing. A dry end to the day for western Scotland into Northern Ireland. Cloud well broken, particularly around coastal areas, and I think for parts of northwest England, North Wales, some decent sunny spells are expected into the evening. The south and southwest likewise a fine end to the day. 1 or 2 showers just continuing for a few hours across the Midlands as well as the North Sea coast. Then we go overnight with clear spells widely and a cooler night compared with recent nights. Still some patchy cloud and a bit of a brisk breeze blowing down the North Sea coast, but temperatures dipping widely to 10 or 11 Celsius, perhaps staying up in the mid-teens in some urban areas. Saturday starts off with plenty of sunshine, particularly towards the west. It's in the east where we've still got some patchy cloud, 1 or 2 showers developing as the day goes on, and a breeze down the North Sea coast. But away from those showers, actually decent sunny spells for many. Saturday's looking like a fine day before the next area of cloud, and rain approaches in the far northwest, and then a more unsettled period Sunday into Monday.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can win big, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? The holiday of a lifetime? Or just sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? Lines close on the 1st of August, so make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel. Good afternoon, Britain. It's 12 o'clock on Friday, the 1st of August. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Dawn Neeson.
Now, 12 months on from the nationwide riots, with fresh protests now flaring over asylum hotels, has Britain really learned the lessons?
Protesters returned to the Bell Hotel in Epping last night, holding signs that read, "Protect our kids," vowing they would not stop until the site is shut down.
Elsewhere, foreign criminals are flooding UK prisons. Yes, new figures reveal that a surge in violent sexual offenders from overseas has taken place. With the prison population rising and costs nearing 600 million quid a year, is Britain paying the price for record immigration?
And a secretive Whitehall unit is accused of monitoring your social media, targeting anyone who dares to criticise asylum policies or immigration.
It's certainly not about monitoring or looking at free speech and people's ability to say what they believe should or shouldn't happen in terms of immigration policy.
And a landmark Supreme Court ruling today could spark one of the biggest compensation payouts in UK history, as millions of drivers may have been missold car finance through hidden commissions. Is this the next PPI scandal?
I think people should be calling out wrongdoing, actually. I mean, it's up to them to decide whether they feel it's safe, and that's for each person to make a judgment. But I think it's reasonable for the public to call out and expose criminality where it occurs.
And would you step in to stop a crime? Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp says Britons shouldn't be afraid to call out wrongdoing. But is it brave or dangerous?
And this is extraordinary. British patients set to receive Elon Musk's brain chip, a device that could let paralysed people control computers, phones, even video games with just their thoughts. It's already been done in America. Is this a medical breakthrough or concerning, given the technology's reach?
And it's Yorkshire Day. We'll be joining in with some of the festivities very shortly.
The aforementioned.
Hey up and happy Yorkshire Day. We're here in Ilkley where the proclamation's currently going on and celebrations are in full swing.
20.
I was so going to do that accent, but I would completely muller it. And Anna obviously is. I know. Is it?
Hey up, Britain. No,
I can't
terrible,
do it.
terrible.
No, that's even worse than mine.
Really bad.
So, but it's going to be a great visit to Anna up there. She's got the right accent. She does it properly. So yeah.
The way you say that makes it sound like she's putting it on, but it is actually her accent.
She does it properly. It is actually her accent. So we're not going to attempt to mull it. But it's great fun to be here with you, young Tom.
Absolutely, and brilliant fun to be with you, middle-aged Dawn.
Thank you very much. Can you say that?